Hello and welcome to Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. By and for school administrators, this podcast is intended to promote candid discussion and insight about our great profession. My name is Rick Sola, and as Communications Director for the Kansas Principals Association, I am the host, but I am certainly not the feature. Sit back, take a sip, and enjoy. This is Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Today I'm visiting with Principal Derek.Cantrell, Principal of Alleghany High School in Covington, Virginia. That's correct, right? Covington?
That is correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And also Virginia's 2026 Principal of the Year as part of the Virginia Association of Secondary School Principals, which is KPA's sister organization. Derek, welcome to Cool Coffee and congratulations to you.
Appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity to be on the podcast, and look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. We were able to connect through our, mutual connection to the NASSP, and saw that you, you've written a book, which we'll get into, but specifically talking about the consolidation of schools, which is a very unique topic, but also one of great interest and like even personally some relevance where I'm at even over the next few years. But so looking forward to really getting into that. But I want to start, as I start with most of the shows, and hear about your road to the chair that you are currently sitting in, and kind of filling in the background here of your educational journey. And I do want to state, first of all, I'm really excited. So, Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. You're the first non-Kansas principal, Virginia principal here to be on. So welcome to this platform.
Awesome. Appreciate the opportunity. Education-wise, my mother and my uncle were educators. Mother taught pre-K and did a little bit of special ed. My uncle, who helped raise me as well, was a shop teacher and eventually became a technical center CTE principal. So they really helped influence that kind of idea as I went through school. Graduated, went to Liberty, finished at Ferrum University and got my master's degree at James Madison in Virginia. Started off in Alleghany County schools as a student, came back and was a teacher and a coach in the county system, and then became the last principal at Covington High School, which is the city school that's surrounded by the county that did go into that consolidation piece. So I was there for 7 years, and this is just completing my third year as the consolidated high school principal at Alleghany High School. So kind of about 10 years in the classroom before I got into administration, and first job was a high school principal. So kind of unique in that, and jumping into that part of it and finishing the 10th year of that journey. So it's been an awesome ride, and definitely is fun. A lot of things happening on a daily basis.
Yes, you referenced being the consolidated high school principal. From a vernacular standpoint, where you're at, is that how it's referred, the consolidated high school, or how do you reference your school where you're at?
At this point, it's Alleghany High School. We're the Cougars, and as we went through that process of consolidation, that was something that took several years in the making. It's actually been a conversation that was talked about for about 40 years while I was a student in school, and then it would come up, it would go away, and then right out of COVID, the first day of school actually at Covington High School, our school board voted to consolidate schools, which then also took the county school division to do that, and then both local governments. Once all that happened, then plans went into place to kind of prep the divisions merging. The first year, 22-23, our school division merged, and then 23-24, actually no, 23-24 was the first year of the consolidated high school with Alleghany and Covington High School. So long time in the making, and as you went through that process of just building that plane and working with leadership groups along the way, the first year here was 23-24.
So you said it was kind of a post-COVID prompt. What would you say was I mean, for 40 years we're having this off again, on again conversation, but then, pull the trigger and we're doing it. What was it that was the catalyst, would you say, to like, let's do this? What was the big need?
I think the part had been talked about for years was just the declining enrollment, resources, the ability to just sustain challenges and just be able to offer our kids more opportunities with advanced courses and just more support, and staffing issues had become a thing as well throughout our community and pretty much around the country. And it was a very emotional decision because you had long-standing pride. Covington High School was built in 1939, so pride, traditions, and values there. Alleghany High School was built in 1963, so we had to be very intentional about bringing those groups together. And people don't necessarily fear loss, they fear losing those traditions and that change, and how you can value those things as you come together and honor those with that. And we were intentional with that process of it, and just being able to listen and be creative with that really, I think, helped a lot.
The traditions, the communities, and everything is so personal. And you use the word intentional, and that's really what I'm so intrigued about with a consolidation. What you described, where I'm at, and it's not totally unique to Kansas, but we're in a position right now where we do have declining enrollment, and there's a need for basically less kids in too many schools, and so we have some school consolidations. We just passed a bond that will close 4 schools and into 2 schools, that sort of thing, and so it's very relevant. So that word intentional in bringing 2 communities together, I imagine there's just so many things you've got to consider. I guess, where do you start? You said it was post-COVID, decisions made, and boom, here we go. Where's the starting point?
So the uniqueness would be, I was hired in October, a year, or 8-9 months out before the start of the school year the next year. Then in January I got assistant principals, marches, staff, so there was some time between the different hiring process of it. One thing that really felt with the consolidation piece that was utmost important is if we didn't do people right in culture, it was going to be hard to be successful academically and those things on the back end. So we started with people. We created a culture and communication roadmap that made sure that we checked the box of each stakeholder that we needed to make sure that we communicated with throughout the process. And that would go from student advisory, parent advisory, surveys, asking staff what classes they would be interested in teaching so that they had input in scheduling, to all the different parts along the way, to simple things like, when we hire a coach, what time frame would that be? How we announce those things? Even little things about when lockers were painted, we made sure that we highlighted that in that symbolic change, and posting the logo on the front door. Little wins and little things like that help build momentum for the excitement as kids came in the door day one, because we really wanted it to feel brand new. Even though Covington High School kids were coming to the Alleghany High School's current building, we wanted it to be new for everybody as they walked in. It wasn't a new school, but the hope was, you come in, we're the Alleghany Cougars, and it's going to look different, feel different with that piece. So we focused on communication, visibility, and consistent systems to just uplift our people and recognize the things that they're doing.
Alleghany Cougars was did you change the mascot and the colors, or?
So that's one of those things as you go down that road. We merged some of the things. Actually, you have, like I said, we're at the Alleghany High School building, so we kept the mascot of Covington High School, the Cougars.
Okay.
And we merged the colors. Alleghany was red and Carolina. Covington was navy and gold. So we're at Carolina and navy, as you kind of see with the shirt, with that part of it. So we merged those things together to kind of keep some of those values, traditions, and that piece with it. And I think that's been a really good move for that community buy-in.
How about like attrition? You know, you mentioned hiring coaches, hiring teachers, but I imagine you've got two schools worth of staff and coming together as one. Was there a natural um, blending of staff, or was there attrition? Was there layoffs? Was there, you know?
It actually, there were no layoffs. The hope was through years down the road, as retirements and things happen, that would be a cost savings to the community with that part. But it actually helped because I think both schools were a little understaffed in certain areas. So bringing those resources together, we could have a full science department at the high school. We could have special education teachers. We were, I think, one or two short at Covington at the time, and Alleghany might have been one short, but bringing it together, we were able to make some of those things work better and have full departments. But 3 years in, as we've had some people retire, those spots just aren't filled, and that's how that cost savings to the locality works within that part.
Yeah, so you mentioned already a little bit of some of the challenges, and I don't know, you know, even something like colors of a school. You said you blended the colors together. I imagine there were some pretty strong feelings about either wanting to keep a certain color blend or not adopting even the Cougars. Was there a hard sell even with something like the mascot for those coming in who weren't the Cougars before?
A lot of that stuff, I think that fear of losing identity drives a lot of the surrounding talk and the things, even a simple thing of where a trophy's going to be, how a recognition plays such a big role. We have both schools banners. We have a banner in the corner of our gym that has all the state, region, and district championships from both schools. It's still honored. One's in Navy, one's in Carolina. We have a Hall of Fame display out in the foyer that you can touch and click Hall of Fames and records, so we could bring that in. That was one, I think, of the big areas that we had to have an answer for early, is how we were going to honor traditions, but also be able to do new things as we move forward for our kids. We tried to make sure we got away from the us versus them mindset as we came in and really focused on, what are we doing as Alleghany Cougars? How can we take some of the things that we're doing and make them better, working together as staff and groups, and really try to over communicate so that rumors didn't take off flying and make those things happen on the forefront. So we even had scheduled day early in June, like mid-June in the summer. Typically we gave out schedules the week that kids came back for open house. We did it 2 months earlier the first year, and we've kind of kept that rolling just so we made sure day one kids had the schedule they wanted. We fixed all the problems. We could come in and worry about school and be ready for that. And I think some of the things that we did there, really focusing on relationships over the summer, answering those questions of what people were concerned about, paid dividends. A lot of our meetings with kids and students were pretty simple. We talked about what we're doing, but the end was kind of just a discussion on what are you excited about, what are some things you're concerned about, and if we couldn't answer them, put things in place to be able to alleviate that along the way, and that really paid dividends.
You mentioned the trophies, and one thing that I was really intrigued about as I was reading up on Allegheny a little bit was, this consolidation, it blended two rivalries together, and again, going back to that word intentional, but you talk about the value of the culture and the traditions and things, but you're also blending two together to then develop new traditions and culture. Is there something that transpired in year one that you would say now is part of a brand new tradition and culture of Allegheny that did not exist prior?
We started off, and we still do some things that each historical school had, with some ceremonies and some different things. We've really worked intentionally to just find ways that we can continue to recognize, acknowledge, and extend good things that our kids are doing, our staff is doing. Towards our first year, we implemented a program called our Cougar Scholars Club, and basically what it is a way to get our kids where we need them to be to start their senior year. So in Virginia, we have SOL testing, which is our state standardized test. So at the end we noticed we were having struggling getting kids at their senior year to have everything done. They should be done by the time they start their senior year and not have to worry about getting those completed. So we created a program, and once they get through the first year, if they've passed all their SOLs, that means if they take one or two, they would be a Cougar Scholars Club member. They would get a t-shirt the first year. The second year, after their sophomore year, if they've continued to meet at 100%, and if it's a special education student, if they earned a verified credit in Virginia, if they scored 375, taken it twice or more, we would count that as well because they've earned that for graduation. After their sophomore year, they'd get an athletic pass to all home games. So investing kind of in them and our school for their success. And their senior year, they would get an athletic pass and a parking pass. And from year 1 to year 2, after our second year, we went up 11% with that program, and really, I think, has kind of kick-started that, getting our students on board to be successful and taking things serious because they're invested in themselves and our school to be successful. And that has been something cool that I think we've started that'll continue to go and escalate and build over the years, and that's a new one that we didn't have at either place.
How coveted is that parking pass?
You know, that one, I would say the main part with all that is make sure your bookkeepers are okay with your crazy ideas, because that's a lot of money that we had to sacrifice. She wasn't happy, but she understood in the long run that investing in kids is a win for us, and that gets more kids to games, gets more kids, you know, there's a little parking pass, $25 to park, and the athletic pass I think is $100. So actually for the kids it's $50, so that's $75 worth of benefits for knocking it out to park and doing what you're supposed to do. So it's really helping us, I think, get ourselves in the right spot as kids get along towards their senior year.
So Derek, as I kind of did some background reading on your school and you and you know the accomplishment that you have with the 2026 Principal of the Year, but you're also an author, and I didn't mention that in the startup. But you've written a book about this. What's the name of the book?
The book is Better Together. So that's kind of the one community, one rival, just working into that in the hopes to kind of make it a practical playbook that you can read and get the story, but also be able to get some of the different programs that we've put in place and the things that we did on the forefront to really value people and relationships to help us be successful.
If a principal's listening to this right now and they're going to be in charge of blending a school or even multiple schools together or communities together, what would be that first bit of advice you would give them based on the experience you went through?
I think the main thing is relationships, and really focus on people. When you value people and relationships and building culture first, good things follow. The academics and the other success will come with that. A lot of research and things. I've read a book, Humane Leadership, and it really talks about how people that put relationships first in businesses and schools have bigger impact than people that worry about just the bottom line and money. Your people stay, they feel valued, you get more out of them. So it's definitely important to put people first and communicate on the forefront, and I think that really sets the momentum and the stage for great things to come.
I really like that advice, and I can imagine, I mean, it's just like the principal job in general. There's times where, I mean, things are burning, things are moving, but there's so much care that has to go along with it. Is there a part of this process that you'd be willing to share out here that maybe you stubbed your toe and it was like, oh, through this, like that maybe it's part of your book, like this was something like, hey, don't do this. Is there anything that you would share?
You know, I think the main thing that you learn is the communication. Over communication is okay. That if you don't get something out, it'll create its own narrative. There'll be something going, hey, they're going to take this trophy or this thing, and they're moving it down out of the building or here, there, or the other place. And it's very important as you get those things that can answer them to over communicate the plan to the best that you can, that we're going to value, take things seriously, and really involve as many people as we can within that part of it. And I think that's important as you go through basically any kind of change process, and definitely little things that you might not think are big to somebody. Whether, especially when you're talking tradition and pride, that makes those feelings even stronger. And you definitely have to listen. And I think that's so important throughout that process. And the more you do in front, and even can take that time to step back and answer those things, it's going to help you in the end.
Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, a narrative will be created. Either you create it or somebody else will. That's really, I really like that. Um, Derek, I appreciate your insight on that. Before we sign off here, it is April as we record this, and I'm not as confident in knowing the Virginia school calendar out there. Are you year round? Are you just 9 months? What's it look like out there?
We start mid-August. Teachers come back 1st of August. School ends late May, typically 1st of June. We have a summer. We're pretty much off June and July. 12-month folks work. Summer school's typically in June. We have a month of that at the high school level. So not year long. We do have the summer break that kids and teachers get, and you kind of get into that. We just start Easter break this week, so we're off Friday, Monday, Tuesday for just a quick refresh before the final kick. And I think April's that time that you need a break. You got that last kind of momentum kick and refocus on those expectations, relationship, and purpose, and keep things positive and visible, because it kind of sets the tone for that finish about this time of year, because it's 82 degrees outside today. It looks great and beautiful, and everybody wants outside and in that part, and gets interesting sometimes this part of the year.
I'm jealous to hear that you're headed to a little mini spring break there. We have a very similar calendar. We had a bigger spring break in March, but now we're kind of in the home stretch. But it's about a month and a half or so, or more, as we record this on April 2nd here. What advice do you give? We have some principals who listen to this who are new to the chair. Maybe this is their first April as a principal. What advice would you give them?
I think finish strong, continue to recognize students and staff and the good things they're doing. Be visible, be out in your buildings, talk to people. It gets a little crazy as we get to the testing time. Make sure that you've got your observations and all those things done, because here in the next month it's over really quick. As Yogi Berra always would say, it gets late early, and it always feels like it gets late really quickly in a school at the end of the year. So those things that you got to knock off your plate before the end of the year, make sure that you're doing those now. Stay visible and continue to uplift your people.
Gosh, I'm a huge fan of Yogi Berra and all his quotes, and I don't think I've ever heard that one. It gets late early.
And that's in the relationship of Yankee Stadium and left field. The shadows would get him out there early in the game, so he would say it gets late early out in left field in Yankee Stadium. So it's a good one.
That is a really good one. I wrote it down. I think I'm going to throw it into a newsletter or something here. That's perfect. Well, speaking of baseball, I know you're on your way out to a baseball game here in Alleghany. A tradition of this show is I like to give principals an opportunity to brag on their people. So much of what we do does not happen with all the amazing people behind us. So this is a chance to share with all the listeners Alleghany and all its people. What would you say about them?
I would say that we have a bunch of wonderful people, and to be able to get a state honor or anything like that, that definitely echoes that. Our leadership team's excellent. Charity Hale has been an assistant principal here with me. She actually was a teacher at Covington High School and then came to Alleghany before the consolidation, so she's seen both sides as well with that, and she's been an outstanding leader within this process and really helped with the athletic piece of it through consolidation beforehand, and been an outstanding AP. We have Jennifer Rather, Ty Dobbs, and Timothy Cochran was a part of our team and passed away in February of 25. So he actually went through a school consolidation before and brought some things to our team that were really cool and beneficial. And Ty Dobbs is our athletic director. athletics played a huge part of that, and Jennifer's been super awesome with everything she's done. Our staff is top-notch, outstanding people. They love being here and being a part of it. And I like to say, when I do a podcast with just our kids, and when I ask our kids who their favorite staff members are and why, I continually to hear that we have people that are kind. They go out of their way to listen and talk to kids. And like I tell them, when kids say that's huge. We want people that they feel that they can talk to, and that they really have their best interest there. Our community, I think, gave us a chance. It's something that was definitely difficult to go through with that consolidation piece, so we appreciate that. Our leadership team at the school board office, they were building this plane while they didn't know what job they were going to have, and it's tough to do. And hats off to the things that they do to put us in a chance to be successful. And I'd like to also hat tip Melinda Sneed Johnson. She's retiring from education. I think she's put in 50 years. She was my superintendent at Covington and gave me my opportunity to do this, and has still been with me as 10 years as a high school principal. So appreciate all that she's done to help grow me and value our kids and our staff, and just really, the heart that she has, that she does on a daily basis. And she's been our assistant superintendent currently, and Kim Halterman's our superintendent is at this time, and she has been outstanding in letting us continue to grow, go out and share the message and the things that we're doing. And those folks definitely help us. But such a team effort. You don't have opportunities to, like I said, principal of the year type stuff without great people and staff and students. And our students came in and gave us a chance to be successful. They adapted, and they were courageous with coming into a school that they didn't ask for at the time, and really you wouldn't have known a week or two into school that anything was different. They showed up, they wore the colors, they wore the gear, and it's been an awesome experience, and super humbled and proud to have the opportunity to lead that part of it at our school with our team.
Well, a lot of really good words about the people out there you work with, and with the Principal of the Year. Are you going to D.C. in a couple weeks?
Yeah, April 15th, heading up that way, and kind of excited for sure. I've talked to Tony Catani a little bit. I did his podcast the other year, and he kind of kick-started me into doing some of these things and getting out and sharing our message at different conferences and all. And he said it's an outstanding event, and you learn a lot, and you make a lot of wonderful connections. And so super excited for that, and to get to go up there in a couple weeks and be involved with the leadership and advocacy training that they're going to offer.
Yeah, no, and I've listened to Tony's podcast before. I've not talked with him myself, but I hope to meet you in person. I'll be there as well in a couple of weeks, so I'll have to look you up. But it was great. It's great having you on. I really appreciate your time. I know you're on your way to a break and on your way to a game, but having someone on from another state, in this case Virginia, it's just a reminder that what we do in our schools is it's shared, the challenges, the successes, and it's really great to have you on and just share about the consolidation and the success you had. And I'll put your book in the show notes, so anybody's looking that up can click on that and look it up. I know, like I said, it's super relevant where I'm at. I'm in a suburb south of Kansas City, and it's not totally unique, so it happens, but it's definitely unique as a principal to go through it for sure. So. But yeah, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to wish you all the best in your break, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, appreciate it, Rick. Thank you, and thanks for all you do, and continue to do the outstanding things you're doing.
All right, thanks, Derek. Check the notes section for more information on this episode and to learn more about the KPA and its mission to develop and support all principals through optimized learning, collaborative leadership, networking, and service. Be sure to check back in for our next episode and spread the word about Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Catch you next time.